the entire board, and only one name can be used. You can't repeat any names. So you have to find somebody on the square that fits that section. So you ready to set? Go.
I think we all done.
So this is not just our group, it's like everybody.
We can ask anyone.
Okay.
Whose favorite color is pink?
Yeah. Whose favorite color is pink?
You've done something crazy, right?
Wait, what have you done?
You play sports. I'll put you
I
there.
was born in a different
Huh? I'd say so.
Who's met someone famous? Have you met someone famous?
I have. I've met Alec Baldwin. He's kind of famous.
Did he just get like arrested?
I hope so. No.
Wait, I'm really bad at names. What's your name? Sorry.
Clancy. Yeah.
I feel like I'm spelling wrong.
Oh, C-L-A-N-C-Y?
Okay. I've gone skydiving, so maybe that's
crazy.
My name's Naomi.
Thank you.
And Naomi.
My mom almost named me that. All right.
Really?
And you were born where?
In another country.
In another country? But out of North America? Or
No, I
just
think
in another country?
Just in another country. Remember, because I'm not from here.
Let's see.
I have fostered kids. And he's adopted.
What about you, Jill? Do you have an
And you've adopted.
Do you have Oh, where's that?
Oh, that was very good.
Okay.
Who else is fostered or adopted? Probably no one. You do adopted. That's
I don't know if that's true. I'm going to use Jessica for this one.
It's not a dog or a cat.
Lee for this one.
Crystal, you've won one.
I was nanny.
As a foster parent? That's awesome.
Have anyone famous? Just me.
Yes.
Shoot. I'm not
Nikki.
Naomi, you've done something
I could love veggies. I love veggies for you.
Nailed it.
Logan, do you play an instrument?
One more minute.
I don't have any of my own, so I can listen wherever I am.
What's that one?
family
That's alumni family. I try to get to bingo. I did something crazy.
Oh, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Joe.
Thank you.
Have you been out of the country?
I've been to Canada. Does that
That
count?
counts.
Sweet.
Oh, North America, fine.
Out of North America,
You've been out of North America?
I've been to Cuba, but I don't think that's Cuba's still part of
What was that side?
I can't remember if Cuba
time's
is
up.
North America or Central.
Everyone sit down in your
What's the
seats.
Central America?
I've been there.
Nailed it.
Did you get it? No. Oh, you got that? Yeah. You got a bingo?
I don't understand why, like, really people think, like, I know you've done this.
Did anyone like why me? The board?
No. You did? You didn't complete the whole board.
The whole board.
Oh, it's blackout bingo? I only got one bingo.
Did anybody complete the whole board? No. No? Alright. Well, originally you had 2 minutes to do it, and it was the point was nobody actually completed the whole thing. But it was just to get you up and moving and connecting with other students that you normally wouldn't talk to, and you'd learn something that you might have in common. And Barbara talks a lot about choices and communication and collaborative work, and you have to know each other in order to work successfully together. And that will bring us into our presentation.
Look at good old
All right.
Babs.
So first I want to start by telling you guys, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with her yet. I'm on a first name basis. This is Barbara. I love her. I've already started taking her techniques and implementing it at home with my own children. And I will tell you, there's not a lot of information on this slide because I searched everywhere. Because people that are alive don't have a lot of information because they're not dead and they don't get a bibliography. They don't get it. So she was born in 1948. She's married with 3 children. Her career consists of she was a teacher, a university instructor, a consult for school districts, which I feel like is a great aspect to have somebody like this in your corner and use as a tool. Like, so she was a former nun, a public speaker. There are quite a few YouTube videos out there. There's a YouTube video that Logan sent me, and I would suggest you guys all watching it. I think the link is right on your pamphlet. It is an hour long, but it's great. It's super informative, and you guys will be like, wow, I love it. So she's an author, and she's appeared on Oprah. She's appeared on CNN. She's been featured in New York Times and many others. There's a lot that she was featured in. So she's the author of these 6 books. The first one that came out was Kids Are Worth It. This was to educators. This was out in 1994. What she was trying to get across to educators was create a school climate in which students can become self-disciplined, compassionate, responsible, resourceful, and act in its own best interest. They give a sense of positive power. So the next one was the bully, and the not so innocent bystander, which was in 2002, and that's more geared towards parents, but the same concept. And then she goes into parenting through crisis. So this touches on when you go through time of loss, grief, or just it just helps parents and the kids navigate through minor and major chaos in our lives. Everybody goes through minor and chaos all the time. And then the next was 2006, which is the just because it's not wrong doesn't make it right. This touches on everyday life stuff and and that she believes that you're born to care, you're in the capacity for compassion, and it just goes on to talk about, she takes stuff like chores and mealtime and just incorporating all of that into, and then her last book is Extraordinary Evil. It talks about genocide. It was kind of a really controversial thing for her to write about, but she did write on 3 of the major genocides, which I would have went over them, but I couldn't pronounce some of them, so I was like, but she writes about too how she believes bullying can be linked to genocide. Yeah. So, and then immediate, and she goes over the immediate effect on victims of genocide and the rippling effect it has on everybody on the outside of the world. So, but so.
Wow.
So I'm going to talk to you guys quickly, well not quickly, it's quite extensive actually, on the principles of Barbara Coloroso, or her theory. So she says that a classroom should not be teacher dominated. When the student and the teacher work together, it creates a sense of community. And she believes that consistency is key when dealing with children who misbehave. Having realistic consequences allows the child to realize they can have a positive control over their lives. One of her other components of her theory is that punishment can have negative lasting effects on children and eliminates the opportunity for you to develop integrity and wisdom with your students. The theory continued, so kids respond to punishment with the 3 F's, which are fear, fighting back, and fleeing. Teachers enforce consequences. They need to be associated with the classroom rules and enforced often when students break the rules, so you need to be consistent with your students. As teachers, you are the backbone of the classroom. We are in charge of instilling children with the ability to behave creatively, cooperatively, and responsibly, which results in the development for inner discipline. So, big question is, are we committed to kids? Are we committed to our students? So Barbara states that we need to be there for one another. Kids need positive reinforcement. She said that kids need to know that they matter to you. And we have a clip here that's going to touch upon her message, which is the 6 critical life choices.
6 critical life messages that I believe every child needs to get. I'm an old school teacher, and when a kid walked through that door, I didn't care who he or she was. I didn't care where they came from. Their dad was an alcoholic, mother had an interesting occupation, brother's been in jail. Every kid walking through those doors is a kid. And they need 6 critical life messages. They also need these same messages at home. I believe in you. I trust in you. I know you can handle this. You're listened to, you're cared for, and you're very important to me. Children need to hear that in lots of different ways every day, but think about it. Do you really listen to your adolescent? He has a big zit right in the middle of his face. And we could say, oh, don't worry, I had 30 when I was your age. That's not listening. Nor is, if you hadn't eaten the French fries and the chocolate, you wouldn't have that zit. No, you put your arm around a kid and say, that's a bummer. I remember what it's like to have a zit right here. Feels like your whole face is aglow. Let's see if we can't get something to cover it up and to clear it up. Well, that's your kid, I hear you. Which in turn says you're worth it. So any opportunity at any age that we can give to children every day is saying, you know, I believe in you, I trust in you, I know you can handle this. You are listened to, cared for, and very important.
So you'll find on your handout that we did list the 6 critical life messages so that you can take those away with you and maybe adapt them into your own classroom. She also talks about the acronym, I guess we would say it's TAO or T-A-O. And the way that she describes this is we do not give children the answer. TAO is the path to the answer for the child. So children need to be shown affection, optimism, and given time in both the good times and the bad times. And as parents and teachers, we need to let kids know that even if a situation does not go the way that maybe we had planned, that we're still going to be there for them. And she refers to that as tragic optimism. So even in the bad times, you're still optimistic with that child. Let kids know that you trust them and that they can handle situations. You want them to begin to think for themselves. Children and students need to know that if they are in a situation that they can talk to you. You want to have an open connection with your students. So a really great example that she uses is that, so a kid goes to a party. They drink and they break the trust of their parents. Obviously in the situation it's not with a teacher. The parent then uses that as a teachable moment. The parent tells the child that they can now throw a party at their home, but they're going to be supervised. They can invite whoever they want for friends. And the kid's like, well, I'm not going to throw a party because nobody's going to come. There's no alcohol. There's no fun here. And the parent is going to switch around the situation and tell the kid that you can have fun, but in a positive manner. And that's the way that the kid can earn back that trust with that parent. So this is also a good idea that after a situation like that maybe takes place, she suggests that you try to bond with the child and connect with the child. The more time and affection we give our kids, the better they will be off. So incorporating something as simple as a smile, a hug, or even humor can have a positive, lasting effect on your students. So then, like I talked about a second ago, she wants you to start to think for yourself. So a major goal of education is to teach students to conduct themselves in an acceptable manner. To do so, students must acquire an inner sense of responsibility and self-control. So some of her philosophical tenets, so her theory is based around that kids are worth it, number 1. 2, that I will not treat a child in a way myself would not want to be treated. And 3, if it works, it must leave the child's dignity and my own intact. So she also goes further into detail about the reasons behind disciplining a child. So the first phase of discipline is making a mistake. So if a child makes a mistake, they're going to own it, they're going to fix it, they're going to learn from it, and they're going to move on. You take that and make it a teachable moment, not a negative moment. If a child decides they're going to create mischief, it's not necessarily serious, but is intentional behavior and it still needs to be addressed. If a child makes the decision to cause mayhem, which is willfully serious misbehavior that calls for reconciliatory justice. And she even lists 3 steps for that, which is restitution. So you need to do whatever is necessary to repair any damage that has occurred. You need a resolution. You need to identify and correct whatever caused the misbehavior so it won't happen again. And then reconciliation, which is where you heal the relationship with people who were hurt by that misbehavior. Some words of advice in Coloroso. Children are a gift. We have to encourage them to be all they want to become, not what we want them to become. Once again, that means that children need to think for themselves, not always do what you tell them to do. You have to believe you're worth it before you can impress upon young people that they are worth it. So you have to be able, you want to be a model figure for your students. You need to show them that you're worth it.
Okay, so listen in. You guys are going to be a two group. So group 1 is going to line up and wrap around this way. Group 2 is going to line up and wrap around this way. You're going to be asked a question, and it's going to be a good or a bad choice. So the bad choice would be the frown face monster at the end, and the good choice would be smiling face. So you'll have one person from each group stand up to the line, and they're going to race to the correct chair, and whoever gets to the chair first will get a point with their team.
So, this table, and this table, you guys are group 1. This table, and this table, and this table, you guys are group 2. You group 1? You don't have Oh, wait, no, wait. You're not Kylie, right? We're not. Never mind. Oh, okay. I was like, you can do it. So you guys, I don't know why. I know who Kylie is.
One at the end. Yeah, throw an elbow and then go.
These questions are going to be grade level. So wait till I say go. Yeah, so if it's a bad choice, you're going to want to get to the frown face monster. If it's a good choice, you're going to want to get to the happy monster.
Why are you looking at me?
I'm going to look at someone. Alright, so the first question is, state your classmate's pencil without asking. Go. You guys now wait.
Hold on, you want to say it?
Who's keeping track?
Good job, Kiana.
Wait, till I say go. Yeah, wait till I say go. Tell your teacher if you notice that she dropped her wallet. Go.
That was so nice.
I'm so confused.
Go outside and play without asking your parents. Go. Shouldn't get points for that.
I would ask your parents to go.
Depends on your age. Wait till I say go. I jumped the gun. Alright, tell your teacher if you see someone stealing from her purse. Go. Play with matches with your friends.
Come on, I approve so much.
And you got the multi-cam going.
Gotta get all the action, all the angles.
Watch TV and avoid reading lessons. Oh. Alright, now we're going to go before it's go. The other team gets your point.
Oh, this is trouble right here.
Ready?
Wait for go.
Yep, don't wait for go. The other team is going to get your point.
Somehow this seems unfair.
Don't get too serious.
Walk away if someone tries to start a fight with you. Go.
Tony gets half a point.
He's a wrestler.
I think it was the wrong choice.
It was the wrong choice.
It was the wrong choice. I didn't even correct us.
Get mad at your mother because she won't buy you a new toy? Well, you're gonna pick that toy. Yeah, you're gonna have to raise it. You're gonna get the toy. What? Talk to your parents in a nice way. Go. Welcome to my world. They won't sign in either. Work hard every day to make good grades. Go. Good girl. That's a good. That's wrong. That's a good try to get Brian right there. You go sit in the corner. You go blue. Stand right there.
Just said you get it.
She gave it to you. Work hard to get good grades. Alright. Go play with your friends even though your mom asked you to clean your room. Go. Wait, repeat. Wait.
I don't know if that was an option.
Tell your parents alive so they will not go to the PTA meeting.
Okay.
Go. No. Yes. Always say you can't do anything right. Go. Wait. No, I'm having a hard time. Be nice. Stand up for yourself.
Logan. Logan. Logan.
Oh boy, this will be a fun one. Call your friends ugly and stupid. Go.
I knew I was doing something wrong with my friends.
Don't get afraid to take it. Take your friend's lunch and eat the cookies. Go. Tony, no! You got it. Tony, you can't play anymore. You're done. Let's go. Yeah.
At your times I'm running, I have enough room for
Only 2 more questions. Stay up late after your parents have told you to go to bed. Go. Pretty good. I didn't work at my homework.
She scored for her team every time.
They're delicious. The cupcakes are me. Mindy has the Rice Krispies.
Are the eyes edible? Does Nina eat the eyes?
No, they're chocolate. Out of control. I just saw so many people making bad choices.
Shoving people.
Oh, jeez. Ah,
Bringing it back in. So there are 3 types of teachers in the classroom. There is the brick wall teacher, the jellyfish, and the backbone. So the brick wall is a strict teacher who demands students follow the rules without question. So I think we can all think of some teachers that are like that in our past. Jellyfish teachers are teachers who have rules, but they're not clear, and the rewards and punishments often change based on the student's favorability or not in the class. And a backbone teacher is a teacher who gives strong support but allows students opportunities to make their own behavior choices. And that's the teacher I think most everyone should be trying to in general in the classroom.
So just to apply a little bit of this to just your typical classroom management, one thing that Barbara really stresses is the idea of problem solving and making the kids be responsible for their own actions. So she lists kind of the steps. 1, identify the problem. 2, list possible solutions. 3, evaluate your options. 4, select the best option. 5, make a plan to carry it out. And 6, reevaluate. And then she says teachers act as guides, but they shouldn't solve students' problems. Just a real simple example of this. This is more of a family parenting example, but the beginning of this year, my son called me one day and had forgotten to bring his lunch, his packed lunch, to school. So he's like in the office, like, oh my gosh, Mom, I don't have anything to eat. And I'm like, now I hadn't heard of her theory, but there's a parenting model that goes a lot along the same lines as Barbara's theories. And I was like, oh no, what are you gonna do? You act stupid almost because you want them to think for themselves. My son's 9, he can remember, he's not 4 or 5. He can remember to bring his lunch to school. And if he forgets, he won't die. If he didn't eat for one time in the cafeteria, guys, he won't die, right? So I'm like, and I live like 3 minutes away from the school. And I'm at home. And I'm like, oh no. What are you gonna do, buddy? And he's just like, I don't know, Mom, I don't have any money either. I can't buy lunch. Oh no. And I'm sorry. So again, because Barbara's saying, you know, like show you care. I didn't just be like, figure it out. That's your problem. Forget your lunch. Hang up. But I also didn't run to school and give him his lunch because, you know, a lot of times, especially in today's culture, you know, there's the idea of the helicopter parent where we have to just like be hovering and always there to solve all of their problems and fix everything for them. But then they grow up to be adults and, you know, everything's not their fault. It's not their fault they can't get a job. It's not their fault they flunked out of college. It's not their fault that they're in jail. So really convincing students to think for themselves. So he did, like, I tried to walk him through these steps. What do you think you could do, buddy? I don't know. I'm like, do you know anybody else that's eating? He's like, yes. I'm like, maybe they'd share some food with you. And he's like, yeah, maybe. Or maybe I could borrow money. Oh, good idea. So again, I'm listing possible solutions. I'm trying to guide him, but I don't solve his problem. And I don't even tell them what to do. And that's how you can get your students to think too. So just a real life example. So you can put the next one. It's not always easy because sometimes the easiest thing is just fix it. Especially in a classroom when you're dealing with 20 people. It's like, all right, here, take it. Here's the paper, whatever. You know, like. But it takes more time, but it really helps create that self-discipline. So a self-discipline approach, students are responsible individuals who can assess and correct their own misbehavior. That whole idea, like my son, he's 9, he can figure this out. He can do it. I believe in him because that's one of the 6 tenets. You can handle this, right? Like, you don't communicate that to your students, then they're always gonna, you know, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, I don't know what I'm gonna do. The student and teacher work to build a trusting relationship that's built on mutual respect. We as educators must help students develop the inner discipline, again, which I said that can take a lot of time. Students and teachers must share the power. The quote's kind of good. It's not about winning or losing. When our relationship's a power struggle, everyone loses. So really kind of giving them just as much power as you have, even though you're the authoritative figure. So, again, implementing in the classrooms. This is kind of the idea of the steps like we talked about, but allowing students come up with natural or logical consequences for a bad behavior. So if a student misbehaves in school, share the power and let them, okay, what do you think is a good punishment? And let's talk about it. Now, they're not going to dictate their own punishment completely, but they can help brainstorm ideas, and you guys can work and collaborate with it together. If a natural consequence isn't too harsh, allow the students to experience it. The perfect example of the lunch, right? He won't die if he doesn't eat lunch today, but guess what? He's never forgot his lunch again. So I'm not going every time to save him. Now he's able to be responsible and say, you know what, I better get my lunch, I better get my lunch. Give the students the opportunity to solve their own problems. Okay, this is the cool part. This is why we have all the food and we welcomed you with an invitation and a fist bump. Barbara really believed in parties. How many of you guys have been invited in the last month to a party? Birthday party, some kind of party, Halloween party, almost everybody. Huh? You guys are very social. What did you guys do to earn that party? Maybe you could say you, nothing, right? Maybe you could say you were their friend, I hope, you know, but pretty much it's a free invite, right? Like you didn't have to work hard to get it. And that's where Barbara's theory of earning parties, she really doesn't like that idea because she thinks that's not real life. Like we want to teach our students to celebrate life. We don't want them to be like, you have to do all of this math homework or extracurricular activities or, you know, this or that to earn a party, or you have to have this grade, because some kids are just never going to get that grade. Some kids are, you know, and those are the kids sometimes that need to learn how to celebrate life the most. The kids that are in those really rough situations. So she would just do parties just because. So we have this little sign over here, which is awesome. Like she'd tell her students, tomorrow we're having a popcorn party. We are, why? I don't know, because I like popcorn. And that was the end of the story. Like just because, or like if the school went through a loss, like if a teacher passed away or a student or something tragic happened, she would try to, within even, you know, the next couple of weeks, do something really fun and exciting with her class to try to help them cope with that loss and still kind of be able to celebrate life. So she didn't use parties as a reward system, just taught students to celebrate life, popcorn parties, movie parties, surprise parties. She implemented a party, especially when students had a tough week. So like state testing or something, she'd have a party after that. Or if there are a really hard lesson, say in math, and they've been working hard for several days and everybody's brain is about to explode, she'd throw a party the next day, just to really balance that out, the hard work.
So, some positives of Barbara's theory is that the children learn self-discipline. It also is promoting dignity and self-worth, and it's really holding students accountable to their actions. Because students get to experience the consequences of their choices, they're holding them own selves accountable. So if they don't like the consequence that they receive from their choice, they probably won't do it again. And so for self-awareness and they're promoting self-awareness and self-assessment because they are responsible for the consequences of their actions, like I stated. And so they are more likely to self-assess after they've received that consequence. So say they're being bad and they get in trouble. So they don't like that they're getting in trouble. So they're going to go back, reflect on what they did to get in trouble, and fix that behavior. So some cons of Barbara's theory is that it uses a lot of time, energy, and resources. So as you all know, in the classroom, we don't have a lot of time, energy, and resources. So this is maybe something that you would have to implement over time, not just start out year one with this theory, but build it in your classroom as you gain more experience and whatnot. Another con is that students could become overly obedient, and as we mentioned in foundations, we don't want our kids to just mindlessly follow what we tell them to. We want them to have inquiry skills. We want them to think for their own. So we really don't want to push the overly being obedient. We want them to be thinking and constantly questioning things. So now we are going to go into our activity. Now, as you guys know, on your invitation, you guys were already grouped into your groups. So the place that you guys are in your groups is the group you will stay on. I'm going to play a quick YouTube video. So basically what we're going to be doing is creating a skit on the back of your card. Don't flip it yet. But on the back of the card, in the center of the room, is going to be what you'll be acting out. But this is just a little example of what we will be doing.
All right, boys and girls, it's time for recess. So we're going to go outside. Everybody should grab your coat because it is pretty chilly out.
Use the volume on the podium, yeah.
You don't want to wear your coat, Brianna? No. All right, boys and girls, it's time for recess. So we're going to go outside. Everybody should grab your coat because it is pretty chilly out. I don't want to wear my coat. You don't want to wear your coat, Brianna? No. But my new coat this whole camp. Wow, that's pretty daddy. Oh, I'm going to zip it up. Keep your eyes. It's time for recess. Oh, nice day.
Are you cold, Miss Bria? I'm so cold. Why do you think you're so cold?
I know
facing because of that.
She's not warm like me.
No, I'm toxic.
I feel good.
So, I'm gonna wear my coat next recess.
Good decision.
Then you and I can go play.
Okay. Okay, so you guys can flip over your card, and with your group, you will be either acting out something like we showed over there, or you will be acting out one of the 3 teachers that we discussed earlier. So we're going to give you guys about 5 to 7 minutes to come up with a skit, and then we will show everyone it when you guys are all done.
They have rules, but they're not implementing them fairly across all students.
Consistently?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Inconsistent.
kind of thing.
Who wants to be the teacher?
No, I'll be the teacher.
So you could
I'll be the jellyfish teacher.
right, and then have the student act out, and then have the student act out again, and then you don't reinforce the same rule, right? Isn't that a jellyfish teacher? So you do something like that, and then have the other student do the same thing, and then you
Yeah.
yeah, like you could be the teacher, we could be the 3 students, and each of us could like do the same thing, and you would punish like 1 or 2 to the other, and that would be like.
We have to script it.